friends. Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having such a good Saturday. Today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. I've been trying to kind of reserve Saturdays for get ready with me's and like my thoughts style videos. And while this is still kind of a my thoughts video, it's also more of a rant. And this also is not about people who are in the makeup community, which normally are the people that I talk about simply because that's what I'm interested in. But I've noticed a bit of tomfoolery happening in the just YouTube community in general. And one of the things I want to do in 2019 is focus not less on beauty drama, but just more on like all of the stuff that happens in the YouTube sphere. Because I feel like in all the different communities, there's a lot going on that I'm also kind of interested in. So this video is basically going to be a rant and kind of like I kind of want to dissect and analyze the situation a little bit. I've seen a lot of videos about both of these topics because we're talking about two different situations in this video. I've seen a lot of videos about both of them, but I kind of wanted to talk about it from a more like sociological perspective of like, where does the fault lie for this type of stuff? What are some solutions that we could potentially think of going into like the next few years in this new age of social media? So I just wanted to sit down and talk about it with you guys because I wanted to. The first one I wanted to talk about is one that has gotten a lot of coverage lately, and that is Rice Gum and Jake Paul scamming their fans. I don't know why I put quotation marks like they didn't scam their fans, because that's what they did. So they did this thing where it was like a mystery unboxing, but it's actually a which we'll talk about that in a second, because I have a whole problem with them calling it a mystery unboxing in the first place, because that in itself is a deception. And they basically showed this website where you could pay like $15, click on a box, and they won like Apple Watches, like Balenciaga shoes, like MacBooks, all of this crazy expensive stuff. And they allegedly just like did this like random, you happen to gamble and you get this thing or whatever. It's like this website that does like mystery box unboxings, but it's all online. But the reason I took issue, first of all, with just the titles of the videos, and this is like deception 101 of what the brand did to like make it even more deceiving to kids. Getting a mystery box and unboxing it has become a huge thing in the last year on YouTube. So many people have done it. You buy like a mystery box from Amazon, you get it sent to you, and then you open it up and like it's like that's what it is. And that's a lot of content that people make. And that's pretty kid-friendly content most of the time, because like I'm sure like some of the mystery boxes are a little sus, but like that's pretty kid-friendly content. Like a parent would see their kid watching a video titled mystery box unboxing, $5,000 mystery box unboxing, and they're probably like, oh, it's just that thing that my kid likes to watch. Problem is, that's not what this was. This wasn't a real mystery box unboxing. This was an advertisement for a brand that does this like online gambling stuff. And the problem I have here is there's obviously the problem here of trying to convince children to gamble, because that is an addictive thing. Not necessarily that I think a lot of 8-year-olds are going to get like addicted, but they don't really understand the value of $1 when you're 8 years old. Most kids don't, at least. And so it's kind of like they're like, oh, $15, but like Jake Paul says I could win AirPods, so I'm gonna do it. And then suddenly they've spent like $100 and they've won nothing, because in the reality, people did the actual website and went through like, I think somebody went through and like bought like 40 of the $15 mystery boxes, and they won nothing. They won crap. They won a bunch of like dollar store crap. They spent so much money and won nothing. So the reality of the situation is nobody's gonna win anything. These kids, and these people know it. These people like Jake Paul and Rice Gum know that these kids are not gonna be winning Apple Watches. Nobody's gonna be winning that through this website, and trying to convince them otherwise and doing it in such a deceiving way is pretty messed up. And I think a lot of people, when stuff like this happens, a lot of people are like, this has been the new thing I've been hearing a lot. A lot of people say that the blame lies with the parents because the parents need to be better monitoring the content their kids watch. A lot of people say the blame lies with like Rice Gum and Jake Paul. People say that the problem lies with the children and them being too gullible, like too easily deceived. I personally think when I hear cases like this, because it also kind of reminds me of the recent situation we had with Gabby Hanna, where Gabby Hanna was selling brushes from Kenza Cosmetics and was saying they were $80 brushes, that they were doing a clearing out sale. So you only had to pay $10 for shipping, and you got these like $80 value brushes, and it ended up, some people didn't even get their brushes, and when people did, they were really bad quality, or it took like 7 or 8 months to actually get to them. That's a scam. I'm sorry, Gabby, despite how you want to phrase that, that's a scam. This website too is a scam, because in the terms of service for this gambling website, the like mystery box website, it literally says we don't have to send you anything if we don't want to. Like if you won something that seems like it's too good to be true, psych, we literally don't have to send it to you and we don't have to refund you. So that's also a scam. So when we're talking about influencers promoting scammy things, it's like, where does the blame lie? Personally, I think the blame kind of lies with everyone involved. I think the influencer, number one, is the person that needs to be held more accountable and held more responsible for their actions. I think influencers need to be researching before they do these things, not just hearing a dollar amount and then instantly going and doing something like this just because they can make a ton of money doing it. I think that's a huge problem, but I don't really expect guys like Jake Paul and Rice Gum, who are just very, very obviously in it for the money. It's so difficult too, because it's like their fans are children. So they're very obviously not like connecting to their fans. Like that, Jake Paul's fans and him have absolutely nothing in common. Their day-to-day lives are nothing similar. Like they're not alike at all. Despite how he wants to perceive it in his vlogs, there's no connection there. So he literally doesn't care about his fans at all. So I don't see him going forward trying to make more conscious decisions when it comes to doing sponsorships that could potentially be scamming children. And the same thing with Rice Gum, I just don't see that happening. The only way I think that we can prevent stuff like that from happening is by the community publicly shaming them, which is unfortunately what's been happening. Is us in the community have been like, hey, fuck you guys, like this is so wrong what you're doing. Because like, even though you don't care about your child followers, we care about your child followers, and what you're doing is pretty messed up. You can't just try to deceive children. It's not a cool thing to do. It's not an okay thing to do, because YouTube at the end of the day is a self-monitoring platform, because we all know YouTube doesn't really do anything to protect its consumers and its kids on the platform. They don't really do anything about that. They didn't take any of the videos down or mark them as like whatever. So it's a self kind of policing platform. And I think when more adult creators who could potentially screw up other things for Jake Paul start speaking out, that's when good things start to happen. And that's when we start seeing the change. So that has been good. The response to this whole thing as far as that goes has been great so far. Then you look at, is it the parents' fault? Should the parents be monitoring their kids better? I already discussed briefly how the use of certain titles is meant to deceive parents as well. It's not just meant to deceive children. It's meant to deceive parents too, because you see something like, I bought $5,000 in mystery boxes, and you think it's just like a mystery box unboxing. You think it's probably some slime involved. You don't really know. My question to the people that say it's the parents' fault, because I do think there's some personal responsibility on the parents. Your kids shouldn't have your credit card number to the point where they can be charging hundreds and hundreds of dollars onto your credit card. You know what I mean? Like that should not be happening. Don't just throw your credit card at your child. We live in a digital world where they're gonna buy like $500 in Fortnite credit and just like laugh about it. You know what I mean? Don't do that. As far as policing content, I don't know how much parents can actually do when it comes to policing content, because are they only supposed to allow their child to have screen time when they're also watching that screen time? A lot of the kids that are Jake Paul fans fall into that realm of like preteen to like new teenagers, like 13, 14-year-olds. And like, are you gonna sit with your kid while they watch it and watch all of Jake Paul's content with their child? And if a scam pops up, be like, oh no, sweetie, that's actually a scam. You have to watch out for those. Like, I don't really understand in this digital world where every single hour millions and millions and millions of videos are being uploaded to YouTube, how, without taking them off the YouTube app completely, you can even police something like that. So while I think responsibility falls on the parent, and while I think you should probably be blocking channels that are outright not child-friendly content, that makes perfect sense. But Jake Paul and Rice Gum market themselves as family-friendly content. That's what they market themselves as. That's who their audience is. So at the end of the day, that's a tough one. What can parents actually do to like make this better? What can they do? I don't think a lot of parents are very well versed on this like YouTube knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, are we expecting parents to know every single creator on this platform and expecting them to know every single one in depth? Like, I don't really understand how that would even possibly work. I think we're putting a lot of blame on parents, when in reality, if we're being completely honest, and I hate to be that person that's like, ugh, but like most parents are working 2 to 3 jobs just to keep a roof over their kid's head and feed them food. And if the only joy their kid gets out of the day, because they can't afford to do other things with them, is to watch Jake Paul Paul, you're gonna let your kid watch freaking Jake Paul. Like, I don't understand this hatred towards parents when it comes to social media, because honestly, when you're putting all of the blame onto one singular party, you're taking all of the blame off of another person. The influencer still needs to be held accountable for spreading this type of stuff to their young followers. They know the demographics, they know how business works, they know what they're doing, and they're willingly doing it anyway. They're being negligent on purpose because they don't care. So that's the problem with that, I think, personally. This is such a rant. Then you have the kids who, when I see people, this actually makes me mad. When I see people blaming children for being scammed because it's a good life lesson to learn, I want to scream. Like, it literally makes my skin crawl. It literally, I don't understand how you can look at a 12-year-old who just got scammed by their role model and be like, well, you learned a really valuable lesson today, didn't you? No, they're a child. The whole reason that the FTC exists is to protect consumers, because even as adults we fall for this consumeristic marketing techniques like this. We fall for scams like this. That Kenza Cosmetic stuff, I had a bunch of followers who follow me who are older, who are like in their 20s, who were like, I fell for that brush scam. Like, I fell for that. Like, as adults you can fall for stuff like this. As children, you're even more susceptible to this because you're very idealistic about society. Very much like, oh, why would Jake Paul try and make me waste my money? They don't think about the fact that Jake Paul is making $200,000 from doing this. They don't think about that because they don't know about that. That knowledge has not been introduced to them yet. They're not told that. None of the fault falls on the kids, like, at all. At all. None of the fault falls on them. They are children for a reason. If your kid was walking home from school in like 25 years ago, if your kid was walking home from school and they got a kid, some kid was like, hey, I'll sell you a candy bar for $1, and the kid gave him $1, and the other boy ran away with that $1, who would you blame in that situation? Would you blame the little kid for giving the dollar to the boy, or would you blame the boy for scamming a child and running away from a child? I think for some reason we think as a society that because these kids are growing up in like a social media age, they are so much older than they actually are, and that just doesn't appear to be the case. Kids are still kids right now. They're just kids with YouTube accounts now. Like, they're no different than how a kid was 20 years ago, how I grew up, because I didn't grow up with technology and all of that, like, not until I was a lot older. I think about how I was raised and how there was that stupid commercial for this like paint thing. It was like, it had like 3 colors and you could use it as like a marker kind of thing, and it like made all these, and I wanted that so bad, and I begged my mom for it, and I begged my mom, and I would beg her to get me this paint thing, and she finally bought it for me, and it was terrible. But all my favorite Disney stars were using it, so I thought it was amazing. It's the same premise. It's just that these YouTubers now, instead of me saying, okay, go ask your mom to call this company so that she can order this for you, it's, okay, click this link. If you have any of the needed information, you can do it yourself too. The only problem with kids is not that kids are necessarily need to be scammed and need to be taught a lesson. The problem here is that it's more readily accessible because we live in a world of social media. Because there's not a set person to blame, we tend to blame like victims of stuff like this. But at the end of the day, that's what those kids are. Like, they're victims of their idol screwing them over. Imagine how terrible that would feel to have your idol screw you over. And these kids still probably idolize Jake Paul and Rice Gum because they don't know any better. Like, they don't even know to be pissed at them about this. That's the part that gets me. And the fact that Rice Gum, I have a real gripe with Rice Gum. Like, I really dislike him. After the whole like content cop thing happened and I found out all of the shady stuff he's done, and his whole response to that, like degrading, just everything about Rice Gum pisses me off, basically. I really dislike him. For Rice Gum to sit there and make a video and literally make an entire video of whataboutisms where he's like, well, what about David Dobrik's crew? What about this guy who makes slime? What about? And it's like, okay, what about them though? So they did it too. So they also are shady, and they also are deceiving their followers. Pointing fingers at other people doesn't make you look any better better, you still did something worse. I don't know why these YouTubers think, because Gabby Hanna with the Kenza Cosmetics did the same exact thing. Gabby Hanna was like, this whole swipe up and purchase just for shipping has been around forever, so I'm not sure why this is the one that blows up. Everybody does this, so I'm not sure why I'm the one. And it's like, all of those people that did that are also just as shady and just as bad, but you are the one that got caught, and you are the one that is being made public about. And just because other people didn't doesn't mean you didn't do it. You know what I mean? Just a little frustrating. So that all has been happening. And the only message I want to leave with this is, parents, try and moderate more the best you can. I know it's hard. I know it's a tough job. Being a parent is already hard enough, and now you have to deal with all this BS, but like, try harder. Influencers, do better, be better, because it's absolutely insane that we are in 2019 and you still are pulling this type of stuff. Still, it blows my mind that you're still trying to scam your fans, especially these two people who have been in so much controversy. Blows my mind that they're still trying to pull this stuff. So that's all my thoughts on that. The other situation I wanted to talk about was the situation with Onision, who I have like a migraine just saying his name. Oh my God, he gives me actual head pains. He's a terrible person. If you don't know who Onision is, don't Google him, don't look him up. You don't need to know, to be perfectly honest. He's actually just a terrible person. Like, I have to say, of all the people I've met on YouTube and all of the people I've seen and discovered through YouTube, he is easily the absolute worst. He's not a good person. That's all you need to know about him. But recently, he basically, if you don't know, he lives in a place where there's like, I don't know, I'm not going to claim to be like a nature person. I don't really know a lot about this, to be perfectly honest, but I know enough about this situation to talk about it, but I don't know enough about like endangered wetlands to give you the rundown on why what he did is terrible. But I guess there are some wetlands and they're endangered, and they were in his backyard and he destroyed them with no regard for nature, which is pretty ironic coming from a person who claims to be very incredibly vegan, and if you eat animals, you are a terrible, horrible person, and all of this other stuff. So here's the thing. This kind of goes along with it, because I think the only people that could be following him are, I'm not going to say it, but I know that there's some kids in there. Onision posted on Twitter that he was going to have a GoFundMe because he was going to be restoring some of the things in his backyard, and he basically was like, I need to restore X, Y, and Z. I'm starting a GoFundMe to do that, and people were basically losing their minds because they were like, this guy is trying to make people pay for his legal bills, because he got in this whole huge legal battle with his state, and they're forcing him to like fix it, and they're forcing him to pay money or something like that, and like there's like fines he has to pay. So everybody's freaking out like, oh my God, Onision is literally trying to scam his followers, which he was, but his reaction to it is more funny than anything else to me. So he tries to scam his subscribers and followers into thinking that he did nothing wrong in this situation and that he's just trying to build like bushes or something, and starts a GoFundMe, and people donate to the GoFundMe because of course they do. Of course there's people on the internet who have like $10 to $15 to spare to give to a guy they like on the internet. Why these influencers are surprised when people do stuff like this blows my mind. So he then posts a video being like,
it was all a joke.
And it's like, what? And he's basically just trying to play it off like he didn't actually want anyone's money. He was doing this to start a forum. He didn't actually want to take anyone's money. He was going to refund all of the money. He doesn't want to take anyone's money. He was just joking about the whole situation, making light of the whole situation. And he's like, I don't know why anybody didn't get my joke, because why wouldn't you get my joke? It's such a funny joke. You being an asshole yet again is just like this really funny repetitive joke that keeps happening, but it's never a joke. Personally, in my opinion, I think what this situation was him trying to make a quick buck off of his child followers, scamming them basically and saying he needed the money and lying about why he needed the money, and then it backfired so hard because so many people called it out that then he backpedaled and was like, oh, you guys are so stupid. This is like classic douchebag behavior, to say something like awful and then to be like, guys, I was just kidding, like, sorry, you're so stupid that the joke like went over your head. And then you're like, no, you very obviously weren't kidding, you're very obviously wanting to get money, and then it backfired and now you're backpedaling, and like whatever. At the end of the day, he still made the GoFundMe, he still took people's money and asked for people's money for a non-legitimate reason, and that's still fraud, whether it's a joke or not. GoFundMe is not the place for your jokes. GoFundMe is for people who have people in their life that are dying and they need medical treatment for legitimate reasons. Making a joke out of a GoFundMe, which I don't think was his intention, but even if it was, making a joke out of a GoFundMe to promote some new forum that you're doing, I don't even know what it is, like, it's just so sick and wrong. And to make your fans think that you are struggling so hard financially that you needed to start a GoFundMe to even get this going, and the fact that any of them had the kindness to donate to you after you're such an asshole, and then you're gonna sit there and be like, oh, you guys are so stupid, I can't believe you even donated. Like, that's how I picture him talking, like with his frat boy friends. Like, I just can't stand him. So that whole situation, I just wanted to briefly talk about, because I was like, dude, come on. Really? That's what we're doing right now. This is what we're doing. Anyway, that's gonna be my video, guys. I hope you guys like it. I know this was a little bit more different and random than what I normally talk about, but I wanted to just see if you guys even were interested in this type of stuff. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. I'm honestly just so happy you're here watching me. Thank you for being here. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!